4-year-old Daniel Klosi tragically died from sepsis last year, despite being taken to hospital 4 times in a week. He was repeatedly sent home with his parents and told to give him Calpol.
Well, a coroner ruled last month that doctors may not have recognised Daniel's symptoms because of his autism. And Daniel's mum, Linda Alushi, is calling for blood tests to be made mandatory for repeat hospital attendees within a certain period of time, because she believes if this had been the case and this had been done for Daniel, he would still be alive. Garraway Patel has Daniel's story.
A lively boy who loved cooking and being with animals, Daniel Klosi was like any other 4-year-old boy exploring the world. But when he became ill with unusual symptoms one Sunday in March last year, his parents rushed him to hospital. He was later discharged from the Royal Free Hospital in North London. When his symptoms persisted, his parents took him back a week later on Friday, again on Saturday morning, and one last time the same afternoon. On one of those occasions, he was sent home with a recommendation to take Calpol. The doctors hadn't ordered a blood test, which would have revealed that he needed antibiotics. Shortly after midnight on the Sunday, Daniel died from sepsis. An inquest last month found that doctors may not have recognised Daniel's symptoms because of his autism. The hospital has since said it is deeply sorry that Daniel died while under its care and that new measures are being put in place. But Daniel's parents believe if he'd had a simple blood test, he could still be alive today.
Now, Daniel's mum, Linda Alushi, joins us now, along with actor and UK Sepsis Trust Ambassador Jason Watkins. Linda, I'll come to you first. Can you help us understand what happened in the week leading up to Daniel's death?
So, the week before his death, Daniel fell ill on Sunday, and he had croup, which was something he was getting a bit often in the last months. And we took him to the hospital, and he got some medication there. We were discharged, we were sent home. And then again, on Thursday, he started coughing in the afternoon, was not feeling well, got high fever. He was not eating, and we got very worried. I mean, because of his high temperature, they wouldn't go down with medications, like for 3 or 4 hours. It was something we'd never seen before. Breathing was really loud, and he was like drowsy. He went to sleep quite early, and then we thought to take him to hospital straight away, and that's what we did. We went to Royal Free Hospital, and we stayed there for like 6 hours, 5 or 6 hours. They thought Daniel had a viral illness. We were discharged at around 5 or 6 in the morning.
And you were discharged and told what?
It's a viral illness.
And do what?
Just give ibuprofen and paracetamol alternated if the temperature doesn't go down. Right. He'll be okay in a couple of days. There is a virus going around.
He'll be okay, was the point.
Yes.
And he was sent home, I think, told to take Calpol.
Yes.
And then, help us, the worst thing happened.
And the next day, he was not well.
Yeah.
Obviously, we didn't take him to the nursery. He was not eating. He was not drinking at all. And he was not peeing. Right. He wasn't the Daniel we knew. He wouldn't play. He would stay all day in our arms. And something, you know, something we had never seen before. We'd seen him other times with the viral illness, having temperature, but he would go down, he would restart eating, drinking, and then when the temperature would go up, he would feel worse. But this time, there was no improvement.
I mean, the awful thing is you were told he'd be okay, you sensed something was wrong, and he wasn't okay, was he? You lost him.
Yes, he was not okay.
Oh, we'll talk a bit more to you in a moment. Jason, you just must feel physically sick that this is still happening, because you, of course, went through this with your lovely Maud, and it's still happening.
Yeah, and just hearing that testimony of what happened is so similar to what happened to Maud. It's so upsetting to hear. And yes, the circumstances are very... We took Maud in and were discharged and told everything would be fine, and this rapid decline, which is so indicative of sepsis, occurred. And we lost Maud in a very similar way, and it was in the same week in our local hospital, in the same week that our documentary about Maud came out. A couple of days later, and describing what happened to us, which is very similar to what happened to Daniel and to Linda. And so it was very distressing for that reason. And I suppose it's difficult to talk about the wider context, but one has to, is that in 2013 there was an ombudsman's report into sepsis, 2013. And around that time, things were said that it wasn't working. Our interpretation of the symptoms wasn't working. Our clinical practice wasn't working around it. And then only in October of last year, 10 years later, the conclusion by the Ombudsman was that nothing had changed.
I mean, that's devastating.
Yeah.
I mean, Linda, one of the things the coroner said in your devastating situation with your beloved Daniel was that he may have presented differently because he had autism. How do you think that might have impacted? Do you think maybe people that are neuroatypical might need a different approach in a way?
Well, that's something that doctors should be really focused on. Because with a neurodivergent child, especially when you take the history and you ask the parent, you have to be very attentive and listen to what the parent says.
I mean, that comes up so often, doesn't it, Jason? You know, that instinct. I mean, I'm sure overstretched, exhausted A&E doctors and nurses and healthcare practitioners, you know, get Google mums and dads in and they have to make a call, but listening to the parent. And, of course, the crucial thing is that we know is a blood test rules so much out and so much in.
Yeah, and I think we at the Trust really feel that, you know, sepsis needs to be treated as a medical emergency.
Yeah.
And so if somebody had a physical wound and came in, they would be attended to immediately, and this blood test would have been a matter of course. I mean, there have been changes to the clinical practice at the hospital, and one of the things that was said was that a lot of the staff I know have been affected by it. And this isn't a witch hunt, but it's about the system of care. And one of their recommendations was things, and I just quote, this is what was said by one of their people at the inquest, was that that if somebody reattends hospital, which is crucial, and I think just the most distressing thing that Linda told me, we met each other, I reached out after...
You heard about it,
I read about it, and we had Linda and her husband round, and we spoke about it. And it was very shocking, was that the way that she was spoken to as a parent. I think, and this is my view on it, that she was seen as a sort of hysterical parent. On the third time she went back, and I think that I think is very distressing. But what they're saying is, briefly, is that what they're saying now is that if someone attends the hospital, they will now be seen after admitting by the next available doctor. Now that's.
This is every parent's worst nightmare. It's heartbreaking listening to you, but lots of parents out there, it shouldn't be incumbent on them to know the symptoms. It's for doctors to understand. That's, you know, who you go to and rely on. Can you help us very quickly? We listened to some of Daniel's symptoms. What are the symptoms? Now, we haven't got a doctor here, but you'll be aware, working alongside UK Sepsis Trust, you know, what are the telltale things that parents need to know if they're taking their kids into A&E, and how much elbow should they use?
All their elbow, both of them at the same time. One symptom that Linda was mentioning was the sort of floppiness, and also her instinct that there was something wrong. That's, you know your child well, there's something wrong, but it's a not passing water, that not passing urine for 24 hours. That's one of the main ones. Shivering and cold to the touch, floppiness.
Yeah, for viewers at home, we have those symptoms.
Yeah, you can see.
And at the point of spotting those symptoms, just give people time to read them as well as you saying them. Do you just stand there and demand a blood test, Jason? Is it that brutal?
Well, of course, you know, Martha's rule in terms of the asking for a second opinion is in your armoury now, and you can ask for that. But yes, I mean, if you're worried, and I know, I hope I know that hospitals from now will be aware of this and know that they must listen to parents. But yes, you must ask. Yeah, it's not up to you. You know, and doctors are trying to improve clinical practice all the time. Of course they are.
The heartbreaking thing for you, Linda, is that you feel in your gut that if that blood test had happened, you'd still have lovely Daniel.
That's true. That's true. It's such a simple, basic investigation, blood test, that could make a difference.
And that's what the coroner ruled. Thank you for your courage to come and speak to us today.
And we wish you well with your own grief, because it's wonderful that you're trying to help others. And I know Jason's been campaigning on this for so long as well, both of you, but I know there's going to be many, many difficult days, months, hours, weeks, years to come. So thank you so much.
It's an incredibly brave thing to do, and we really appreciate it, Linda.
Thank you both.
Yeah.
Now, if you've been affected by any of the issues we've been discussing, you can find advice and support at itv.com/helplines.